I was going through one of the most painful times in my life and needed to reinvent myself. In my grief and pain, all I could think of was to move far away and to pour myself into my painting. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Selling everything you own and moving to France to be an artist is not as glamorous as you might imagine. At least it wasn't in my case. This is the story of how I taught myself to paint and become a new person along the way. But before moving to Paris, I took a detour. How far would I go to remake myself? Turns out there is a cottage in the French countryside that seemed far enough. I'd long been fascinated with the painted caves in the southwest of France, and since rent was cheap there, I began looking. My search for an affordable place to live turned up an old stone farmhouse for only $700 per month. I shipped my clothes and art supplies in huge boxes and found an easel at a little art store in the medieval town nearby. It was a little house with thick blonde stone walls and small windows overlooking an animal enclosure in which big pigs and diminutive goats grazed. In the mornings, I could hear mourning doves and the song of cuckoos echoing off the green landscape. For my groceries, I went to the enclosed farmer's market across the barnyard from the stone farmhouse and bought sheep's milk yogurt, chestnut soup in jars, and bread. Everything was homemade and fresh. I found the most charming fruits and vegetables on display in wooden barrels, and my artist's heart instantly fell in love with the ones no one would buy. The misshapen potatoes, the wonky apples. I loved them because they reminded me of how I had always felt a little different, as though I didn't fit in. I would bring them back, set them up in front of my easel, and struggle to paint them. Every brushstroke was wrong. It was the wrong value or the wrong saturation. At the end of the day, I would have an image on the canvas, but none of it pleased me. I took myself for walks along the chemin vert, the decommissioned railroad tracks that took me deeper into the country. On cold winter days, I explored the medieval town of Sarlat and walked the stone ramparts, imagining knights and princesses walking the same cobblestones hundreds of years ago. My life in the French countryside was quiet, peaceful, and lonely. I joined a knitting group in a nearby town in hopes of making friends, but couldn't understand a word anyone was saying, even though I had studied French before I moved. I tried to converse with the cashier at the farmer's market, but couldn't understand anything she said to me. I became lonelier and lonelier